Welcome to the Book Party Podcast.
Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T.
Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T. Thank you for being here with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com. That's bookpartypodcast.com. Hit the subscribe tab on top. Scroll down to the icon of your choice, where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, American Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey. You can download us there and follow us. And please don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and get the latest information for our upcoming shows. And our newsletter's a little different because it's actually a video newsletter where you get to see handsome me. Today I would like to introduce our guest, Mark McGraw, and his book, Did You Come Home for Lunch? Mark H. McGraw has spent more than a decade in education, working with children and students of all ages, from infants through college students. He is an Air Force and Air Force Reserve disabled veteran. Mark is a father of 4 adult children and a grandfather of 9 grandchildren. He currently lives in Oklahoma. Now, Mark, why don't you take it from here, fill in the blanks, and tell our listeners a bit about yourself.
Well, hello. Again, my name is Mark, and I'm a Oklahoma children's book author. I have been writing books since 2020, and this is when my first book, Did You Come Home for Lunch, came out. Never thought I could write a book, so I'm really excited that I able to get that first book out. I stay pretty busy with veterans organizations like American Legion, the Disabled American Vets. I'm also involved with the Korea Defense Veterans. I go to Korea occasionally. As far as the public side of it, as far as the professional side of it, I'm a member of the Oklahoma Writers Federation, also a member of the American Library Association and the Oklahoma Literacy Association. So with all that, I stay very, very busy, but I enjoy writing.
You're a busy
it's
guy.
It's a love of my life.
I'm just a member of the Vietnam Veterans Association, so I'm not as busy as you.
That's what my daughter-in-law says is probably one of the busiest retired persons they've ever seen. So,
yeah,
anyhow.
No kidding. Well, are you a self-publishing author or an agency author?
I'm actually kind of in between. I actually write the book. I actually do some of the editing with a program called Pro Writing Aid. I also hire editors, formatters, and book covers, as well as trailers, video trailers, things like that. So I do a lot of the promotions through that, and also through the publishing company, Archway Publishing is the first book that I published through them.
Okay. Do you continue to use agencies or not?
I actually I coordinate a lot with a publishing company on the first book, and then I have several others that I used a different publishing company called Palmetto Publishing. So I use a lot of their resources. I contact them a lot, get their advice, things like that. And I have a lot of mentors out there that have helped me over the years, some of the do's and don'ts and things like that. So a lot of it I write up myself. And I just get really excited when I finally get close to the end. Matter of fact, I'm coming up on my 8th book, which I'm real excited to. Hopefully, it'll be out within the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely fantastic. Okay, take us to a point in time, since you've written a lot of books. Take us to a point in time that you would consider your worst author moment. Tell us that story.
Okay, I was actually at a book signing event, and there was about 7 or 8 authors, and we were all lined up across from each other. And I had somebody actually come up to me, and at that particular moment in time, they had come up and were criticizing the cover of my book. And so when I went home, I was like distraught. I'm like, I'm kind of a perfectionist in some ways, and I thought thought it was a great job. So I had to take it in light that you're not going to make everyone happy, and really they were criticizing the way the airplane was banking, and in the scheme of things, they were losing the point of what it was actually about. They were being critical on something that really is not necessary to be critical about.
Yeah, there's always that one out there, especially another author that just wants to make somebody feel bad, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When my first book, I actually did the cover myself, and it was true. It was god awful. And I actually published it myself. I did a KDP upload on it, and it was god awful. So I pulled it out and had somebody do the cover for me, and it was 1,000 times better. I republished it out there, and I was so happy I did that. I was hoping nobody saw it, but of course people did. And I got comments that it was just 1,000% better. And, in this business, when they say you can't judge a book by its cover, that's completely wrong. In this business, you do judge a book by its cover. If the cover's bad, you're not going to sell the book. Anyway, tell me about what you would consider what I call the epiphany moment. You just had a light bulb go off in your head. I don't care what you were doing. You could have been taking a shower, going to bed, driving, cooking dinner. The light bulb went off in your head. Oh, my God, I got to write this down. Oh, where's a pen? Where's a paper? Take me to a moment like that.
Well, actually, when I made my first book, I never thought that I would get past it. And I started having all these ideas from being an ex-elementary school teacher and being in the military and all that. I thought, well, I can't get past this first book. And all of a sudden, all these ideas started coming in my head, and I start writing them down. And next thing you know, I'm popping off another book and another book and another book, and they just kept going. And I was like, wow, I can actually do this. I didn't think I could get past the first. And I had a discussion with.
What were you doing when this happened?
Well, it's just I was just like sitting around just thinking about it, and I started. What I have to do is I have to write it down right away. I can't wait. I have to sometimes text some of the things if I'm thinking about something, and I usually write the books about each child and each grandchild. So I based it on that, and that's how I started. Is zeroing in on what my children's experiences were, and as well as my grandchildren, and I wrote a book and dedicated each one. So I worked my way down the list of all my grandchildren, and I write a book for each one, and then I dedicate it once it comes out in print. I dedicate it to them, and then I also do audibles on it as well, and I hire children to do the reading of the books that are in that age range.
Well, you better start telling them to have some more kids. So you can write some more books, man.
I'm going on down the list. Somebody the other day says, "Are you going to run out of any other ideas?" I said, "No." I said, "Ask me about 6 months next year, like around June, and we'll see." But I've got quite a few that I've been writing on, and I started pre-writing on and just put them on my doorway in folders so I can pick up the next one as I go along. So I'm already looking at book 9 already. I've already pulled that one out already. So. And hiring an illustrator for book 10. So, I'm kind of thinking ahead. So that's kind of the aha moments.
Yeah. So, what is the one thing? Let's talk about today. What is the one thing that you're probably the most excited about or the most fired up about today?
I would say today I'm excited about all of the different places that my book has gone. I would have never thought that my book would be in France or Italy or Poland or Switzerland or any other country. I mean, I every time I go onto Google, I find another book that's out there in a different language, on there, and it's just amazing to see it. I actually put out a book with my granddaughters recently this year, and within several weeks, I got somebody in Australia who bought the book. So,
Wow.
it's awesome to see that. And then I had one called The Toilet Paper Caper of 2020, and somebody in Germany bought that book. So,
Isn't that
you just
cool?
never know. You never know, and it's exciting to see all the different websites that I'm out on. I would have never imagined that it would get past the state of Oklahoma.
Isn't that awesome? Right. Well, again, this is Michael T., and I thank you for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com. That is bookpartypodcast.com. Hit that subscribe tab on top. Scroll down to the icon of your choice, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, and Odyssey, where you will find us on one of those favorite platforms. You can download us and follow us there. Please don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Now, Mark, we are entering the lightning round. This is for 4 pointed questions for 4 pointed answers.
All right.
So, what was holding you back from becoming an author in the first place?
I think one was work, just working all the time, and didn't think that I could have the time to do it, and really money, because it cost a lot of money to publish and all of that. So all the different phases that go into publishing a book, it costs quite a bit of money. So I think those were the two main things that were holding me back, was just work and money.
Okay. It isn't cheap to write a book.
No, it's not, especially with the printing costs nowadays.
You got to go through a lot of things. So it's like a boat. Break out another 1,000, what a boat stands for, right?
Yeah.
So what was the best advice that you had ever received?
I think don't ever give up, even when things seem bad. I mean, there's days that I'll go out and I won't sell one book, but I'm marketing during that whole entire event. So somebody once asked me about success. What is success? Is success only in sales, or can success be in, being around the world, or marketing? So I look at the events that I go to as success regardless. Even if I don't sell a book or I do sell a book, I'm still doing both. I'm marketing all day. So I'm getting the exposure out there, and that's really the key. So, but a lot of people, they just focus on the money, and I didn't get into it because of the money. I got into it because I wanted to make a difference in the lives of children. I wanted to be able to share theme-related books. I didn't want to sell books that had to do with a lot of animals or things like that. I wanted to focus on things that children are having issues with. That was the prime reason that I got into it, is, not only for that, and as well as a literacy as well, and as a legacy to my children and grandchildren. So really it was a combination of all those things.
Right, exactly. Okay. Well, share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Well, one is every day I do something related to the business. I might go onto Facebook or open up a Facebook shop, or open up another shop, or do some marketing, or doing some more video trailers, things like that. So I'm always thinking about new things and ways to promote, as well as when I have any ideas. I immediately, especially if I'm over at a family member's house and I get these ideas, then I start texting myself, because I go back later on and I use those texts to help me write those things into the book. So whether it be dialogue, or whether it be something funny that was said, or something that, I had something strange happen one day where I had a bug that landed on me, and I decided I wanted to write about a bug. So, and I started writing a poem having to do with a bug, and I'm like, I would have never thought that I would have even gone that direction. But, next thing I know, I'm looking at doing that. So it's crazy how these things come into my head, and I'm always thinking ahead. So.
When you first started writing a book, what did your family think of it?
They liked it. They realizing that this book took 9 months to go through the publishing process. It's not a very long book. Did you come home for lunch? But it's only like 17 pages. But honestly, they were excited that I actually got my first book out. So, that
Great.
excitement of when you get to show your first book. This is my first book. And I was so excited about that, to be able to take pictures and open up the box and see my books and all that stuff. And it's a great feeling. It really is.
I know when I first got my author's copy home and opened it up, the package, and I told my son, I'm a single dad, so I told my son, I opened it up, I took it out, and I told my son, I said, I don't care if I sell a book or not, this is mine and I wrote it. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
it didn't matter to me anymore. I said, I wrote this book. Anyway, when you were writing, share one internet resource with our listeners. Share an internet resource that you used with our listeners.
Okay, well, one I use a lot is Fiverr.com. It's Fiverr.com. So I do a lot of vendor, consignments or whatever on Fiverr. I find the right people on there that I constantly go to. I find that niche, a group of people that I'm really happy with what they're doing, and I typically go to the same people all the time. And I have, like, for instance, some of my covers are made from not only the illustrators, but some of them are made from somebody in Sri Lanka. And they do a really good job. So I do a lot of vendor type activities, like video
like
trailers and things like that.
Right?
Yeah. Right, forming a team, basically. I have, an editor that I like to go to, and I have a book cover person that I like to go to, as well as a person who creates video trailers for me. So I kind of have built a team, and that's one of the things that was brought up in a conference one time was, try to build you a team of people that you're happy with and you're familiar with, and they're going to do a great job with you. And a lot of times they'll even send feedback saying, hey, Mark was a good person to work with on this project and that kind of thing. So it's great to hear that feedback from the other side too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what my first book, I tried to build a team, and I wasn't happy with a couple of them. So the second book, I tried a couple extra. And by the third book, I had built a team that I was really happy with. And so I want to stay with them for the fourth, as you go on. I built a team now that I want to stay with, so that'll be happy with. Okay, now we're going to enter into the grand finale, Mark. And what I want you to do is tell our listeners a way that they might be able to get in touch with you, on a website or on a certain platform or whatever, or maybe able to follow you, find your book, like, website or something like that. And then I just want you to take this time and tell about this book that we're featuring here.
Okay. Majority of my books are not only in local stores as well in the Oklahoma City area, but also as well as Walmart and Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Target, that kind of thing. I also do audibles as well. You can find a lot of these resources out on my website on www.markmccraw, MCCRAW.com. And then my email address is pretty easy. It's markmccraw@markmccraw.com. So it's pretty simple on that one. But I have a lot of video trailers on there and events, and people can book. They can do. So it's got a blog. It's got everything on it that I would ever want to need. Really. It's just amazing, the website that I was able to build through that platform of use Wix.com to build a platform. So as far as my book is concerned, Did You Come Home for Lunch? Again, like I said, it took 9 months to go through the publishing company, Archway Publishing. My book has a lot of illustrations. It was based on a story in Austin, Texas, when I was in the military. And my son had watched me go away on a C-130, and he was 3 years old at the time, and he was, as like most 3-year-olds, they don't understand time. Time is, in their time is just different timing, and so he actually watched the airplane, get on the airplane, and then also when the airplane came in. I actually went up to the apartment door, and at that time it was a 2-story, second floor apartment, and kind of had one of those baby gates in front of it, and the mom was sitting in a chair, and my 3-year-old son, he's playing a game or whatever, on the floor of blocks or whatever he was playing with. And then my son, he says, I've been gone for 14 days on temporary duty. So he goes, did you come home for lunch? So that's how that story came about, because he did not realize that I'd been gone for like 2 weeks. And so I had my duffel bag and my military uniform on and everything. And so I'm peeking through the door when all this is coming on. And really at the end, it's just really good that the boy was happy about his father being home. And I share this book a lot out at Military Exchange, especially during April, which is the month of the military child. So I try to share this book out there during that time, and how important it is for children to be able to have connections with their parents that are gone away. And a lot of times when I go to schools, I don't leave out the children that are not military, because a lot of parents go away on business or in the oil well industry or some other industry. And so it's really about having that homecoming with your parent and being able to hug them and being able to have those bonds. So that's the purpose of that book. That's the reason why I started writing some military books. And then I wrote another one called Living on a Military Base. So about a boy in Okinawa and his experiences of what it's like to live on a military base and be in a foreign country. So I do several of the military dependent books, and I've been asked to do another one, which probably will come out next year. So it's just something that I enjoy doing. I use that military experience, and then I also use my elementary school experiences as well. So that's kind of how I've all my books are functioned, really. That's what the function of them is.
Well, that's really cool, because I remember when I was the first deployment with my son, I was gone for a year. And my oldest brother had picked him up to take him to the airport to meet me. And when my brother picked him up, he called him Daddy. And man, did I feel bad.
Yeah.
And he was taking him to meet Daddy. And he didn't understand that, And my brother and I don't look anything alike. But I was gone for a year, and he called him Daddy, and he thought he was Daddy. And he's trying to convince him, no, I'm taking you to meet Daddy, but you're my daddy. And it was a bunch of confusion, and man, I'll tell you what, did I feel bad. I felt about 2 inches tall, and it was a bad day for me. And he just didn't get it. But
I think people don't realize what the military has to go through,
Yeah, and over time, that took care of it. But it was just it was a bad day for me, and it took a while for him to get over that. But anyway, so yeah, that really sounds like a cool book. And 2 weeks, and he thought you'd come home for lunch. That's actually pretty cool. I hadn't heard of that before. That's a good one, because I had never heard of that. Some guys are gone for 2 weeks, and are you home for lunch? I'd never heard of that. So that's actually a really cool deal. All right. So, Mark, we thank you for being with us today and opening up to us, and I'm sure our listeners do too. Again, this is Michael T., and we thank you for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com. That's bookpartypodcast.com. Hit that subscribe tab on top, then scroll down to the icon of your choice, where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey. You can download and follow us there. Please don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and get the latest information for our upcoming shows. Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing, LLC, and this is Michael T. signing off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party Podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.